The fairy and the people. In a certain village, there flowed down a vast and deep river through the rocky creeks and cleavages of the foot of a hill. There was a narrow lane passing along the river bank to a distant town. The villagers were used to travel to the town through this lane. At a particular place on the way to town, there was a place with rocks and caves. The river flowed under those rocks, and the ridges which on the bank were very high and steep. The dead bodies of drowned men and women happened to float away through those ridges, and sometimes they were entrapped somewhere under a rock that was protruding out of water. Some believed that in olden days, many people slipped down from the steep ridges and fell into the water among those rocks, and they were choked to death, ensnared by the sharp rocks of the underwater. Some claimed that the spirits of those untimely died persons lived there, and they hectored the passers-by. In this way, there existed a lot of fairy stories in relation to this place. One story goes like this. Once an old lady was traveling through this lane. It was very late in the evening. While crossing the rocky areas of the river, he heard somebody calling from the small caves of the rock cluster as my legs and hands were broken. Help me, help me. Since this was the condition of the place, no one dared to go through that way if it was dark. By chance, some might come that way at night, and he had the experience of the spirit's request. One day a man happened to come that way. He was in return to his house after a visit in the town. While passing the rocky area, he saw an oblique figure running in front of him like a lump of mist. He was frightened greatly and stood there motionless. But the figure disappeared and it was seen no more. The traveler continued his walking. It was very difficult to move forward, for there was not even a little tint of light source anywhere. The lane was uneven, with projecting little stones everywhere, and it made him stumble down many a time. When he covered a large curve, again he saw something moved behind and there with a deep moaning. It requested him, help me, my legs and hands were broken. The traveler stood there and looked around to see anyone near, but he could see none anywhere. At last, the man reached a place where some villagers have decided. When they heard the story about the request, they were amazed and said he was very lucky. Otherwise, he would be pulled to under the rocks which were standing erect out of the water. The traveler went to see one of his friends. He told everything to him, but he was not ready to believe this fairy tale. He said that it took place only in his mind, not in the outside world. because that man also had already heard a lot of times. The stories like this, one about that rocky area on the river bank,